Good morning, everyone. Today is Saturday, March 2nd, I believe. Yes. And I am here. Please ignore the shaking. My dog is walking right here. I am here today to share my February wrap up and my March TBR. So starting off with the first book that I finished in February, I read House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. And I did, in fact, in the moment, give this one 5 stars. Looking back on it, after I've been finished with it for a while, it probably is more of a 4-star, but I just am so attached to Sarah J. Maas. I've been reading her since like 2017. You can't see them right now, but I do have the original covers of the ACOTAR books from when I bought them a while ago. My prized possessions. But yes, this just kind of felt off from her normal writing. I mean, I still liked it because I like the characters. I don't love Bryce, and I really don't care for her and Hunt's relationship. Really, the thing that was driving this book for me were all the side characters and Nesta's small little cameo. The ending with how like the battle wrapped up and everything just felt kind of like meh to me. You're telling me like these are the most powerful people in the world and that's how it wraps up. You know, I'm not gonna say too much because I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah. And I really hope, no shade to Sarah, but like, let's just let that be a wrap on the Crescent City series. And I want ACOTAR 5 next. No, yeah. Just give us ACOTAR 5. And I'm actually so scared for who is gonna be the main love interest in that book. Like, but we'll just wait and see. This was also my book club pick for my Louisiana book club. We do 2 months, so this was for January and February. For my book club here, we do a book every month, and February's was Gwen and Art Are Not in Love. This is a young adult queer romance. I gave it 3 stars, I believe, which was very similar to a lot of people in my book club. It was just kind of like, so it had like fantasy elements, but clearly the writer wasn't, like, again, there was a battle at the end that was like 10 pages and like something happened and everyone was just chill about it and we didn't really revisit that. Just kind of lacking on the fantasy elements, which like this book was set in, I don't know the time frame, but like the time of knights and princes and stuff like that, and it was just kind of lacking development in those areas. A split POV between a girl who's a princess and her betrothed who is, they're both gay essentially. And I really wish we didn't get the sister's point of view, but we got her brother instead, because I don't know, it was just okay. Like if I had read this when I was in high school, I would have eaten it up, but I'm 25 now, so I just feel like a lot of YA is just not for me anymore. And that's okay. But it was still fun and easy. So after I read that, I was in the mood for a complete 180. So then I picked up Where He Can't Find You by Darcy Coates. I saw this randomly in Barnes & Noble and bought it on a whim one day. And let me tell you, this mug was pretty good. I think I gave it either 4 or 4.5 stars. It was not what I was thinking, like, at all when I first read the back and started reading it. Like, I was thinking murder, but it's more like paranormal. And you know, if I would have looked at it on Goodreads, I probably would have seen that in the tags, but I'm not mad at how it turned out. So this is basically about a town in Ohio, I think. Either Ohio, Idaho, or Indiana. One of them 3. You know, they all give the same vibes. But basically, people just go missing there, and then they find their body, random parts of their bodies stitch onto other bodies. And it's been happening for years, and like the cops really can't do anything about it. And there's just this whole story behind it. And I don't really want to say much because I don't want to spoil anything, but it was pretty good. And I was like reading this at night. I was like, I'm scared someone double check if the door is locked, you know? But I would recommend this to everyone. And this, I think, don't quote me on this, was like the first book this woman had written for young adult. She writes a lot of the same genre, but in, I guess, adult. I didn't like the way that sounded. Oh, and this copy of it had like, this is not a spoiler, had like pictures in it every so often, which was, it's always fun to have a random picture in your book. After that, I was still feeling the same need to be reading something spooky, so I read The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden, and this is the second book in the Housemaid. I believe it's like a trilogy now, because I think there's a third one. Which when I read The Housemaid, last August and I loved it. And I read this one and I didn't love it as much. I gave it a 3-star, which isn't bad, but it just was lacking. Like the first one felt, I guess, original, because this one kind of had a lot of the same plot lines. So it's kind of like I'm just reading The Housemaid all over again, but like a little bit revamped. And don't get me wrong, I still read it and ate it up because it was entertaining, but it was just not as good as the first one. But I hear a lot of good things about her other stuff too, so I'm like, maybe I should try a book outside of the housemaid realm. One of my friends just read, I believe, The Teacher, and she will not stop talking about it and she loves it. So I'm like, maybe I should give that one a try. I can't really remember much of what this is about. I mean, I remember the major plot points, but it was just like a quick, easy, forgettable read. So the next book was a huge disappointment for me. Hot House Flower by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I have been slowly making my way through the Addicted series. They're like right behind me. And I have loved them all, especially Rose and Connor. But when I read this, I first of all did not even want to read this because I do not like Lily. No, I do not like Reich and Daisy together. I don't really care for Daisy apart or really Reich. They just weren't my favorite people. And putting them in a couple together where I was weirded out about the age gap, I still am. I don't care. That's a big reason why I did not like this book. Like, you've known her since she was, I believe, 14. And now she's 18, or she just turned 19 and you're 25. Like, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. That's 6 years. You've known her since she was a child. It is just weird to me. And I hate to say this, I hated every moment of this book, basically, except for the parts where the other characters were in it. Like, I did not read any of their sex scenes. I skipped through them. I just do not like the concept of this book. I think I gave it like a 1.5, 2 stars, something like that. I just wish they weren't a thing. I really do. Like, it gives me the ick, and I know I have to read another book of them together, which I'm not gonna like, and it's gonna be like pulling teeth. You know what? If it was a little smaller, like a normal romance book, I could be like, okay. But the way that this was almost 500 pages, I just couldn't. So the next book I think goes back to Lily and Lowe, which I don't have it yet. So I'm like, oh, thank you, a breath of fresh air. Lily and Lowe, I can do that. Oh wait, but the way that something happened at the end of this, and I was like, 2 things. Actually, one thing happened before, like kind of in the middle, I think, if I'm recalling correctly. And the whole time, like, they were being weird, and I was like, I think I know why they're being weird. And then that actually happened. And then the thing that at the end that happened, if you know what I'm talking about, you know, I was like, oh my God. So that's why I'm like, I need to get the next one, Thrive, because I'm like, shit is gonna go down. And I'm excited. I'm excited to not be reading a book about Reich and Daisy anymore. And if you love them, I'm sorry. It's just weird to me. I don't know. Next, I was like, I don't know what I want to read. I want to read nothing on my shelves. So I went to Barnes & Noble and I bought a book instead of reading one of the 50-something that I have. And that book was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I spent a lot of time on Wattpad back in the day, reading stuff I should not have been at a age I was way too young to be reading. And this reminded me so much of my Wattpad era. I was living for it, unfortunately, because I say unfortunately because I did love, like, The Love Hypothesis by Al. Then her other releases, like I read Love on the Brain, it just felt regurgitation, and I read the 3 novellas, and again, they were just all right. I have not read Love Theoretically, because it just seems like the same stuff over and over again, and I have not read Chess and Mate. But I read this, and let me tell you, I ate it up. And I fear there's gonna be a sequel, and by fear, I mean I'll be buying it. Like, they did not have sex until the later part of the book, which was just great, because let's get some more plot in a book besides that, you know? I digress. If you were a Wattpad girl back in your day, or like an AO3 girl, you're probably gonna eat this up. You're probably gonna eat it up. I'm just saying. And the last book that I read this month, and my favorite book of the month, and a book that I've had on my shelf for a long time, and I wanted, one of my reading goals this year was to finally read a book by this author, and I did, and I loved it. Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book in the Skyward quartet, I believe, series. There's 4 of them, I think. And this is outside of his other interconnected world. So I was like, let me start here. And y'all, I ate this up. This is a YA science fiction book. They're up in space and shit, flying. I just loved it. I loved the like school aspect with her friends, enemies to friends. Like, there is something about a book that is very heavily reliant on the side characters to make it a good time that I just love. Like, I love good, fun side characters. I love it. I gave this a 5-star, which I don't count Crescent City really, because like I knew I was going to, even if it wasn't great, because it's Sarah J Maas. So this, in my brain, is my first 5-star of the year, and it was just fan-freaking-tastic. If you're scared of reading Brandon Sanderson and you really want to, like, I'm telling you, start here, because it's outside of his other big old series. Like, it's not really a commitment. It's only 4 books, and they're great. They're YA, so they're easy to get into, and if you're like me, you're gonna eat it up. All right, so that was all the books we read this month. So let's get into our March TBR. Hey guys, currently editing this video, and I realized I was wrong. I read one more book this month, and it was the Ice Planet Barbarians 5. I believe it's called Barbarian Mine, and I gave it 3 stars. I read it during the 24-hour readathon. It just slipped my mind because I didn't own the physical copy. And also, while editing this, I noticed how many times I said the phrase, eat it up. I'm striking that from my vocabulary. So I really have no idea what I want to read in March, so I'm just showing you guys a very, very loose TBR. When I come back at the end of March and give you this wrap up, if there's not a single book on that from this list, don't blame me. But the first book I'm gonna read, I know I'll be reading because it's for my March book club, is In the Dream House by Carmen Machado. I will be listening to this on an audiobook from Libby. I'm just waiting to get it. And basically, I just think it's about a lesbian woman and her trials and tribulation and trauma. Some of my people in book club have already read it, and I've heard interesting things. So I'm excited / scared to listen to it. So that is actually the only book I know I'm gonna be reading. So let's get into the freeballing. Who knows? Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I've had this on my shelf for a while. I'm just trying to get it out. I've only read 2 other books by her, and I loved one and I didn't like the other, so that's why I've kind of just been putting this off. It's not that long. It's a romance. It should be easy to read. Keyword should. So hopefully I will actually read this one and get it off of my TBR. Kit McBride Gets a Wife by Amy Berry. This is just a Western romance. I don't know, I randomly bought it one day. It's been sitting on my shelf. I don't really know much about it, but I figured again, it's an easy romance. I can read it. I'm kind of in a Western mood, I fear. I've never read a Western romance, so this will give me some insight on if I actually like that or not, so I could see if I do like it, then I could buy the Elsie Silver books. I picked this book up in New York in January. Dungeons and Drama by Christy Boyce. This is just a cute little YA, I believe, romance. It's actually tiny, so, and the cover is just, it's just cute. I don't know, like a nerdy romance. I think she plays, obviously she's musically inclined, he's a nerd. What better couple is there, you know? I think it's like fake dating. Okay, so those were the romances. Now let's tackle I think these are all fantasy. I bought this really recently, impulsively. One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. Y'all know, if you're on TikTok, book talk, whatever, you know, everyone's talking about this recently and reading it, and I don't like being left out, so I bought it and I'm gonna read it. Maybe not this month, but at least one day I will read it. And I like how the little chapters have pictures. Again, if there's a picture in a book, it's gonna make my reading experience 10 times better. This book has also been on my shelf for a while, but it doesn't have the best reviews on Goodreads, so that's why I've been holding off. Book of Night by Holly Black. She is the author of the Cruel Prince trilogy, which I really liked that series when I read it, I don't remember, a while ago. I actually have no idea what this book is about. I just remember I pre-ordered it one end of the year for a Barnes order I did. And she's been sitting on my shelf ever since. Again, she is not long, so I could really easily read this. It's just a matter of, is it gonna be good? I'll let you guys know next month. And the last book I have, also been sitting on my shelf for a while, Dark Rise by C.S. Pacat. This author is the same author of the Captive Prince series, I believe, which I read. I don't have them anymore, but I did read them a while ago, and I thought they were all right. Do I know what this is about? Again, no. Magic, no magic, set in London, boy on the run, dead mother. That's really all I know from just reading the inside, so we'll see if I get to this one as well. So that is all the books that I have on my radar, and radar is probably not a real term. But again, don't be surprised when I show up next month and have not read a single one of these. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a great March and you all read all the books you want to. I also only curled the front pieces of my hair. So now I'm gonna go wash my face. Goodbye.